So, for a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to be using my voice today because this is a serious video and I'm working on voice training as of right now. It's kind of exhausting, so just kind of working on my voice and everything. But hey, everybody. So, today on Asher's Corner, I'm going to be explaining why being twice exceptional is so rough, why it's so just oppressive being twice exceptional, and some problems that I've faced as a result of it. Um, it has negatively impacted me in so many areas of my life, I can't even tell you. And we're going to be discussing a couple problems that I've been facing recently as a result of this. This is probably going to be a video with tears. Um, I will say that because the problems that I've had to deal with as a result of this, the two kind of problems I'm going to be talking about today, plus all the other problems in general, um, it's a lot to deal with, and I feel like I need to release because dealing with this kind of life is very oppressive. So there are three parts. Sorry, kind of spat there. There are three parts I'm going to be highlighting in this video. So they might seem ironic or contradictory. Um, the parts, but they all apply to my situation. So the parts that might seem contradictory is being intellectually gifted and having severe disabilities that might influence your performance. And number three is some problems I'm facing as a result of the two being combined. Um, so number one is intellectual giftedness. Now, you might have hear of people that are intellectually disabled. That would usually be an IQ of around 70. In this case, intellectual giftedness is defined as an IQ in the top 2% of the population, or at 130 or above on a standard deviation of 15. And in this case, I'm in the tail end of functioning. I have scored in the upper 1/10 of 1%, 0.1% of test takers on the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, the 5th edition. And there are some problems that I'm facing as a result. Now, I don't want you clicking off this video because it seems like a brag. There are some things I want to note here. I want to note that intellectual giftedness does not make somebody inherently superior. There are actually a lot of deficits and cons to being in the top 2%, or the 0.1% in this case. A lot of people with this trait struggle in daily conversations, socializing. They have a lack of social awareness. Again, this isn't everyone, right? This isn't everyone, but this is common patterns. They often have asynchronous developments where emotionally or socially they're not as developed as other people, whereas other people are more um, developed in every area. So, while somebody when they're 15 might have the intellectual capacity of an 18-year-old being 3 years ahead, they might be um, emotionally mature. Their emotional maturity may be that of a 12-year-old. So they could be underdeveloped socially and emotionally. Many have forms of neuroticism or complex sets of mental conditions. Though the research is a bit mixed there, it can overthink problems to it being a negative thing, especially in socialization. They can be perfectionist, and when they fail, they get extremely depressed or anxious. Personally, I've had a lot of problems with these as I've grown up, and to where I am now, sitting in this chair making this video. So some of the main problems that I find with intellectual giftedness is blending in socially. So, blending in with my peers, it's a real challenge. It's a real struggle, and I don't even know where to begin. And I think part of it is also caused to disability because of autism. I overthink in many paragraphs. So if you're in young adult spaces, you know what yapping is. Yapping is, I mean, some people would say yapping is posting 2 or 3 sentences. Um, and so when it comes to me overthinking, I don't like to express myself in simple words or sentences. I like to express everything, right? I want to get everything out that's on my mind, and usually that requires a lot of words being put together or um, combined to actually get what I want to say out. And a lot of times it leads to sadness, because what will happen is people will go on these spaces and tell me that I'm yapping, or that I'm developing tears. They'll tell me that I'm yapping, or they'll say, what is bros talking about, or whatever. And it's just, it's my yum, like, don't yuck my yum. It's um it's just how I communicate, because I can't use 1 or 2 sentences to really describe how I'm feeling about something. And if I did, I feel like it would drive me crazy. Um, so I have niche interests that others don't really have interest in, like, I don't know, finance. I watched a 4-hour lecture on microbiology tonight. I'm trying to become kind of a polymath. I don't want to be like some Da Vinci or whatever, right? I recognize I'm not going to be that level, but I kind of want to be kind of like a polymath. So yeah, like microbiology or economics or personal finance or even politics. Most young adults my age don't even like politics. Like, so philosophy is another one. Um, and so when I talk about it, people usually will get bored, or they'll call it out, or they'll just kind of bag me because I have different interests than most people, or particularly what the theme of the server is. And failure to recognize topics that may carry heavy emotional baggage. So, oftentimes when I'm explaining to people my attempts, or maybe the state that I was in the ward, right? To a lot of people, and this is what I mean, right? Being gifted is having a different form, a different view. It doesn't mean it's the right way. It's different, right? So talking about the fact that I was close to death on the ward, right? To me, it's a very logical thing. Although there is trauma associated with it, and I can become quite emotional thinking about it, there's a lot of like medical kind of logic and reasoning, and I like having discussions about it because it was such a profound experience. But other people, they see it a lot more emotionally. And so when I'm talking about these subjects just kind of casually, not expecting emotional baggage, because I'm thinking it from a different standpoint. I'm thinking, I'm just having a discussion, an interesting discussion. A lot of people will end up getting triggered, or they'll end up being triggered or upset by it because I was close to death, and being close to death is a sensitive thing. Whereas for me, especially because it's something I deal with so often, at times, I'm not going to say that it's not scary or terrifying. It absolutely fucking is. But at times, I'm desensitized to it. So it's like, whatever, like, I want to discuss this. I was close to death. Let's discuss it medically, scientifically. It's interesting. So those are some of the problems that I face. And consequently, because of these, I tend to be a loner, asocial. It causes a lot of mental problems and a lot of venting as a result. A lot of I can kind of like get into it with other people, just get angry at them, because it's just like they don't understand the struggle. Again, we're talking about 2% of the population, So very, very small amount of, and other people that are not intellectually gifted, or other people around that 130 mark, like maybe 125, may also experience some of this as well. But we're talking about, again, for the most part, 2%, 2.5% of the population. And so most people will never understand this set of problems caused particularly by this, because it's just not that common, um, especially in casual settings. Like, I like playing with people, like, or communicating on Discord servers, like Roblox Discord servers, for example, right? And so it's very kind of rare to see this kind of thing play out where other people understand where you're coming from and the kind of thinking that you do, and you feel very alone because of it. So the second part is that I also have considerable disability. Mainly, I have moderate functioning autism, not high. It's moderate. I have bipolar disorder, GAD, ADHD, severe insomnia disorder, and severe interpersonal relationship problems, and some OCD that impacts me every day. Um, I probably have many more mental disorders, but I haven't gotten a physical evaluation yet because since 17, which it's very overdue because most mental disorders present themselves in young adulthood around that time, meaning that 17 and 21 is the jump where you see a lot of the mental disorders develop because of the way our minds develop neurodevelopmentally, because the parts of the brain that are, emotionality and impulse control and, um, yeah, those parts, they develop around that age. Like, they finish developing around that age. So I'm overdue for one for that reason. And of course, I also have POTS, which means that my nervous system is dysregulated constantly, and any sort of stress or depression that I face is incredibly amplified. It's not even a mental disorder, it's a physical deficit. And so, another problem that I have, because now we're talking about the disability, we're not talking about the intellectual giftedness anymore. Another problem, ironically, that I have is that when it comes to tests in college, like blank paper tests, or like the teacher's like, okay, we've done this statistics lecture. Now you're going to take your pencil and draw math problems on the sheet of notes. I'm not able to do it. I don't know if I have dysgraphia or something, but I don't know what to call it. I'm not able to do it. I'm not able to draw things. I'm good at multiple choice tests, but I'm not able to draw things or illustrate things. And so it can really impact me on, like, mathematics tests. I have very poor study skills. And so I end up with a massive amount of stress for the entire semester because I'm fighting to keep my grade above that passing C. And so another problem for my disabilities is that I feel that my free will is very compromised because of the physical differences in my brain scan. As you know, as you probably don't know, I don't know if I've talked about this on my channel. I had a brain scan when I was 3, and it showed physical deficits and differences compared to the general population, plus a complex set of diagnoses. So it makes me say things to friends that are too much information, makes me flip out with no control in public spaces, general feeling of lack of control. It makes me vent in inappropriate contexts. Like, for example, on a Roblox Discord server, like, I'll just vent. I won't like I won't like vent, like, if it's like a one, like, I have some restraints. Like, the like I have the bare minimum, you know, like I won't do anything. I'll vent, but I won't, like, I don't know, show self-harm scars or whatever. Not that I do self-harm. I only do attempts, but you get the what I'm trying to say. Like, just venting in inappropriate, like, contexts. Like if we're talking about something and then all of a sudden, that's what I mean. Um, so whenever I'm in distress, it just feels like a massive release. It makes me say things that are off topic or ignore things that need to be focused on. It makes me forget holidays, birthdays of family members. It makes me get into arguments because I say things I don't mean or don't know how they come across. Other people jump on it and attack me and make me just sit there and cry and wish that I just self euthanize myself. I'm trying not to cry. Due to this condition, these combinations, the suicidality is extreme, and I'll often have to go to ERs or psych wards. Just the other day, I actually had to go to the ER due to a sleep and combination problem. I won't get into that, but I might discuss it. I used to think that free will was a big thing, especially when it came to like mental illness and things like suicide. But I don't think that way anymore as somebody that suffers with severe mental illness, because if you were to take someone and remove or alter their brain in some way, their choices would 100% change. I actually knew somebody that took fentanyl and overdosed on it intentionally, and their personality changed. Their entire set of choices changed because their brain was altered in that way. And that physical damage is done, which results in different mental processing and a different outcome. So if the physical damage happens, there's no freedom in that choice, or at least the freedom to a degree is removed. And we already know that mental disorders damage or alter the brain in other ways, like the prefrontal cortex, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder, especially. So your brain is being affected physically, especially if you're in a mood like depression, which, you know, it actually makes your brain smaller. Um, your choices are being decided for you, and so your free will is being suppressed actively. And so in my case, I have an extreme version, an extreme lack of what I'd consider free will. You could take this a bit further, again, with the personality that I was talking about, which is the hardwiring, and that's really dependent on genetics and environment, but that's a discussion for another time, right? That's a philosophical discussion. So, two things have really been bothering me. So, it's what's happening with college. Um, because I'm in that top 1/10 of 1% of WAIS 5 Wechsler test takers for my age category, which is the 99.9th percentile, and I feel like I should be able to get through college like it's a breeze. Like, and I probably should have went to college when I was 14 or 15 years old, you know, and everyone seems around me doesn't seem to understand why I'm not able to perform well on the tests and in some cases the coursework. You know, many people think of the bell curve and they tend to think of being extremely able on the right or extremely disabled on the left. And there's no in between. In many of my cognitive domains, I feel like I happen to be on both sides of the bell curve in extremes. So I constantly get criticism from people like my mother because she grew up kind of in an age where things are very conventional, right? And so when it comes to things like intelligence, you're either very superior or you're intellectually disabled, and it's not more nuanced than that, right? In her generation, and same thing with my dad. So, you know, I constantly get criticism for that. She doesn't understand that my autism and my executive functioning and adaptive skills completely put me underwater, not counting for the severe insomnia or bipolar disorder or even the physical POTS that I deal with. This is where things are going to get a little emotional here. So I had just come out of the ward, almost passing away on the recliner chair, during that 48 to 72 hour window. And one of the things that my mother did when I was out of the ward immediately after was she called me out and she kind of yelled at me about how I needed to have a six-figure job and how I was too smart and yet I was lazy and didn't want to do the homeworks. She insisted that I get my college degree and a six-figure job days after I had nearly completed my suicide attempt, and she genuinely seemed more concerned about her child living up to high expectations than anything else. And this devastated me. I cried for so long over this, I can't even tell you, because I felt like I wasn't good enough and that I should have been the best student there. And just because of how I would do socially and how I could philosophically think and everything. So I can't even tell you how this felt to me. I would be crying right now, but I think I'm dehydrated. And another devastating story to me is I recently had a sword fighting clan that I went into. And during this rough time, I shared too many details about my personal life. And I would get into a lot of fights due to personal stories that shouldn't have been on there, and saying something that I didn't mean to, or figure out why something happened, and getting attacked and being told that I yap too much. And I've had so many good times with this clan, with the people there just telling me that I wish I could hang out with and have in my real life. Some real people that are rare to find in the general population because of how much they care about their friends. And because of my set of my debilitating conditions, I feel like it is suppressing my free will. And it's actively taking them from my very hands. And my heart that is so desperate to find people to support me as I'm just drowning further and further into the quicksand. The water, the very support system that I need, is being ripped out of me. And I'm just trying so desperately to prevent. Just... I'm sorry. I would be crying, but I'm dehydrated right now. I'm sorry. It's very hard to deal with. Okay. So because of me venting, they have now enacted a rule that anyone venting on the server will get a 1-week mute, and anything beyond that would be a ban. Now, I could go much on about this server, like about my history with it, the problems I've had with it, why I feel like I need to leave, but I don't have time with how long this video is. The point is, I feel like I need to leave because I don't want to ruin the good friends that I have by getting into a bunch of fights. I don't want to ruin the good memories that I've had on this server. And I don't feel like it's on me. I feel like it's on my genetics, my environment, my brain, my nervous system, and it's just all so unfair. It's been suppressing my free will, and the analogy above explains why. It's like I have no free will over what's going on. I feel like I'm going to end up in a grave, a fucking grave, by the time I'm in my mid-20s because of how many ER visits I've had, or suicide attempts, the NDE in the ward, everything. Now, this is not to be concerned with option 1 and 2 in that framework, because that's actually making me happy. And if you want to see that, you can go to my video. I'm not sure what video it was titled. I think the future of me in the channel. So that's the video. That's actually making me happy, but this is a separate from that. Just the idea that I could die from like a severe accident, or from, I don't know, maybe I just get depressed one night and just take my life. So, and I've been told that joining venting or philosophy servers is a good idea. But the problem with venting servers is that I usually make friends and connections by sharing something in common with them, like playing a game as a group, maybe having a similar kind of interest. And I find in venting servers that if I'm just going on there with a bunch of random people, I'm trying to vent my problems outwards, and hope that what I have to say doesn't get spammed out. And and other people often start fights with me in them. Like I don't find that worth it. It makes me leave because I find myself much more neurotic and unstable than the other like individuals there, and I'll often get into a lot of drama or a lot of fights. The venting doesn't feel like it's coming from my heart. It feels like it's coming from a bunch of people. I have no idea who they are, and I have to build an entire history with them. And the only thing that I know that we have in common is that we're part of a venting server. And so it's not the same as venting to my friends. It doesn't feel like the same thing at all. So that's my problem. Is like if I go on, say, a server with similar interests, like maybe I go on a philosophy server, I'm too neurotic. In fact, on every server, I'm too neurotic because, as I explained before, this is just me talking now. As I've explained before, most neurodivergent and most neurotic people are level 1 autism, or they present in ways. I mean, I shouldn't say level 1 or 2 because it's not about how many symptoms you have, it's about the distress the symptoms cause and how much support you need. That's really the levels. It's not about how physically how impaired you are from the disorder. But we're just gonna use it here for Pete's sake. Most of them are level 1, or they're high functioning. And what I find is that if you're not part of that neurodivergent like clique, the high end neurodivergent clique, you won't get along with them, and they're not going to they don't deal with your problems. And so it's like the venting servers that I need to go on don't even accept people like me. And especially, philosophy servers or science servers or mathematics servers, they don't accept me either because I'm highly neurotic, I'm highly unstable, and I find that my problems are just that intense. Um, and so that's a big problem is that. And yeah, so I don't know. It's really hard to vent because it's really hard to vent to a bunch of people that you have no other common chemistry with. Like if I join a sword fighting clan, or I joined, I don't know, a gun clan on Roblox or another game like Minecraft or whatever, then I'm finding some common chemistry with them, and I but on a venting server, it doesn't seem like the same thing. I don't know how to explain it because I could develop these kind of connections with people on venting servers, but it's just not the same. It's like it's hard to explain. Anyways, that's all. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.